Welcome to MIA
2K.
Your ticket from Miami to Seoul.
We're Kathy and Laura, and we're so happy you could join us today.
You probably know us from, just kidding, you don't know us yet. We're just two Miami girls with obsessive fandom tendencies who fell into the inescapable void of Korean entertainment. And we're here to share our insights and spill all the tea only grown fans like us can enjoy.
We've done all the research and acclimating so you don't have to. Before we begin, please make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you love visuals like us, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. We drop episodes with our hot and sunny takes every week.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
So we have seen a lot of misreporting on the topic of BTS enlisting in the military, especially in the West in these past few days. So we're here to dedicate an episode to the issue as a whole. Now, we know that there's a lot of sensitivity around non-Koreans covering this. So we're going to start with some disclaimers first.
Basically, this episode isn't us giving an opinion on the South Korean government, South Korean citizens, HYBE, or BTS decision-making process.
At all. What we're actually going to cover in this episode is a very high-level overview of enlistment and conscription, not only in South Korea, but across the globe, because I think that's important information for all of us to manage. The news itself, like the press release that was put out, the timing, some math and perspective timelines, our feelings and personal opinions and point of view, just from the standpoint of being Army. Also, we bias the prospective first members to go to the military, so how we'll feel about that. And also from the standpoint of being multi-stance, we're also going to share some perspectives and things that maybe you might not have heard about to help make sense of this for international fans, because that might help as well to kind of digest the news. And lastly, we'll touch on the Western media's reaction and reporting on the news as a whole.
First up is our research on enlistment and conscription. We'll just read through this part, which are the main findings we think are relevant for our conversation.
We'll try not to sound too boring and go through this quickly, but just bear with us because this is important. So number one, what is conscription? It is the state-mandated enlistment of people in a national service, mainly a military service.
Which countries have valid/active conscription laws? Aside from South Korea, Israel comes to the conversation. Their conscription is both for males and females in Israel. And actually, there's 44 countries listed on the Wikipedia conscription page as a yes on still having active conscription laws. But a lot of them have caveats. 1, still a law but not enforced. 2, alternative service is an option. And 3, only enforced in time of war.
In the case of Korea, conscription has been a law since 1948 due to unresolved tensions with North Korea. And it is compulsory, which means mandatory, for all males between 18 and 28 years old.
The length of the mandatory military service in South Korea varies depending on the military branch. Active duty soldiers serve 1 year, 6 months for the Army or Marine Corps, 1 year, 8 months in the Navy, 1 year, 9 months in the Air Force.
And for non-active duty personnel or supplemental service, personnel serve 1 year and 9 months for social work personnel, 2 years and 10 months for arts and sports or industrial technical personnel, and 3 years for public health doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, or expert researchers.
Exemptions have been granted since 1976 to exceptional athletes and are also available for classical musicians and ballet performers who win first place in stipulated international level competitions.
A concept known as conscientious objection, which is the right to refuse military service for political or religious reasons, was not recognized in South Korea until 2018 when the Supreme Court legalized it.
And finally, there is a medical component to it. At 19 years old, South Korean men are required to undergo an impairment and disability evaluation to determine whether they're suitable for military service.
And that's the end of our read on the factual, according to Wikipedia at least, descriptions of conscription, enlistment around the world, and specifically in South Korea. The most surprising part of this research that we did for me was when we saw the list of the countries that are still a yes in the conscription table, knowing that Venezuela and Colombia, which are home base for both of us, respectively, Colombia for Laura and Venezuela for me, still have official conscription laws in place. I thought that was wild because I don't think I grew up knowing anything about conscription being mandatory for any of us, even with the political turmoil in Venezuela. And I definitely had no idea that Colombia had this as well, despite the guerrilla, and all those, again, political turmoil as well. So
I knew about it, and I don't remember why this became like a hot topic in my family a couple years ago, but I did know about it. And I think my brother being 29 now, but yeah, it became a hot topic. I don't know why. We were probably talking about possibilities. Who knows?
I
My family's
remember
weird.
also, speaking of little brothers, when my brother, I think it's when you register to vote when you're like 18
Oh.
here in the States, you also kind of enter the lottery draft or whatever. So you're eligible up until when you're 35, I think. I'm not sure.
Mm.
But I remember when he was becoming of age and looking at the registration or documents or whatever, it was like a thing, like a thought that I had, like, oh wow, like this is makes it very real. Like he's entering kind of a lottery, and hopefully we don't have a war, and hopefully he doesn't get drafted, and hopefully all these things. Like it's quite scary. And we mentioned at the beginning that we're gonna provide some element of perspective here for people who are not familiar with this. And this is something that was definitely informative for me and for my experience as a foreign fan. And it's the medical component. So for many of us who, whether you've grown up with BTS or whether you have recently become a fan, you might think like, oh, wow, they're getting jolted into military life. Like this is crazy. So when it comes to Korean citizens, men and boys, they grow up their whole lives knowing that this is something that they're going to do. They're going to serve in the military. That's part of their culture, their citizenship, their national pride, all these things. So number one, they grew up knowing that this was going to happen. So it's probably not as big of a deal for them as it is for people outside of the country. Number two is Laura mentioned the medical component, which is that at 19 or around that time, they go to the doctor to be graded, basically. There's different types of scoring that you may get depending on your physical fitness. If you've ever had any illnesses or if you have any sort of handicaps, they might put you on different categories to determine where in the armed forces you are more fit to serve. So we should all know and remember that all of the members of BTS way earlier in their careers, when some of them were trainees or when they were younger, they went to the doctor as mandated by the country. They were looked at and they were seen which category they were fit to serve in. So again, this is not something that comes as a surprise to them. This is something that they've been preparing for because it's just part of life for Korean men.
With the basics out of the way, let's jump into the news from Monday, October 17th.
Now, we're not going to read the whole statement because you can find that in our description below. And we invite you to go to the BigHit website or HYBE directly and read the statement in full and make of it what you want for yourself. We just have some sentences that we're looking at specifically that we're going to highlight.
So the main takeaway from this letter from HYBE was BTS are currently moving forward with plans to fulfill their military service, aka they're just gonna go for it. There's not gonna be exemptions. They're gonna serve like all other Korean men have to serve, right? And they also mention and they want to highlight that all the members are honored to be able to serve. And I think they've mentioned this a couple of times just in interviews or in videos. It's not something new if you were Army.
Then it moves on. The next paragraph talks a little bit about their background and things in general where they've been leading up to this point. And then it starts with group member Jin will initiate the process as soon as the schedule for his solo release is concluded at the end of October. So Jin's song called The Astronaut is going to drop on October 28th. We know that he's going to be going to Argentina to participate in the concert that Coldplay is putting on live. And we'll see, like, after that, it says that it will kickstart his process to leave. From other groups that we've seen, it seems like the announcements always come about a month or two before they leave.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no specific certainty, but it seems like BTS might participate in the opening ceremony of the World Cup, which happens on November 20th. So we'll see if Jin's sticking around for that to do their last performance as Seven in front of the public.
Regardless, he has to go before his birthday, December 4th.
Correct. The statement also says that other members of the group plan to carry out their military service based on their own individual plans, which is a big deal. I think this letter has mentioned and will mention in many points the individuality of the members, both for personal life and for professional endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says both the company and the members of BTS are looking forward to reconvening as a group again around 2025 following their service commitment. I think the use of the word around is interesting.
Questionable. Then the next paragraph again stresses their individuality. And we wanted to highlight the part that says, allow the members to take some time to explore individual projects, which is this whole letter was a little bit open-ended to just kind of to interpret however you want, in my opinion. I think it is. And especially this sentence right here, individual projects by, like, I don't even know what to say. Like,
Yeah, this is, like we said earlier, this is the third paragraph of the statement. And in all three paragraphs, they mention their solo projects and their individual career moves. So it's just interesting how they've chosen to word things and how many times they're emphasizing certain things, because none of these things are accidental. Everything that they say is very, like, intentional. That's what I'm trying to say. And then it closes with, yet to come, the most beautiful moment is more than a track from their latest album. It is a promise. There's much more yet to come in the years ahead from BTS. There was a lot of chatter on Twitter saying how HYBE put out this statement themselves and they didn't do it through any media, which I'm not surprised. I don't think I thought about that independently. I would have always thought that this is how they were going to do it. I don't think HYBE needs any media to let news be known. So I didn't think that was like an indication of anything. But it's definitely interesting how the word hiatus was not mentioned once this whole statement. I think both HYBE and ARMY as a whole, and maybe the members of BTS, are now averse to the word hiatus. Like,
yeah.
we're all just, no, we don't know this word.
And, now that we're reading it for who knows how many, the whatever time, because
Yeah.
I think we read this like way too much, but it just occurred to me that the stressing of the individual, like out of the group and just the individual, it very much feels like HYBE had absolutely nothing to do with their decision. It feels like they said, we're going to do this, period.
Which we love.
100%. Because to me, the members have never been scared of serving. Like how they have said, they've known they have to do this for their whole lives because all Korean men have to do this. So to me, it feels like this bid to exempt them isn't coming from them. It's coming from the company.
Yeah.
Because it's a company, they care about money. They just care about the bottom line. And to them, having BTS not be able to perform and technically work for HYBE for whatever amount of time isn't good for them in general. So it just feels like this is very much them saying this was the members' decision and it is what it is.
I think that's true, Laura, that they're very much highlighting this is them, this is what they want to do, despite all the conversation and all the things that have been said for the past couple of years without their input, really. Because every time that they're asked, especially Jin, who was like the first one to go, he always said, I will be happy to serve when I'm called. That was always his answer. And you know, we weren't really around before 2020 in the fandom to
Mhm.
know for sure. But I think one of the things that occurred to me while looking at all of this was this conversation probably wasn't really happening until 2020. Number one, because
Mm,
Jin didn't really have to go until 2020. And number
right,
two, because they hadn't exploded globally until Dynamite
right.
to the extent that they are now. So this was a conversation that, again, for them probably came out of nowhere, and they probably were uncomfortable with not being able to talk shit like they
Right.
wanted. But I mean, it's been part of Suga's as Augustee's lyrics for a while, so I guess this has been in the conversation for whatever reason.
And I mean, they mention it at the festa lunch or dinner or whatever it was,
Hmm.
that they had plans to do their individual projects in 2020. Usually individual projects, not always, but in a group that hasn't really done true individual projects, like I know there's mixtapes, but they're not like
Correct.
actual albums, whether it's a single album like Jin is doing or an actual 16 song album. Usually solo means they're doing what they want before
Before
they have to
enlisting.
enlist.
Correct.
So it just feels like you said, like Dynamite was the, oh shit, they're making a shit ton of money right now. Like maybe let's explore different options without
Right.
really asking them what they wanted.
Right. Yeah.
So with that, we kind of wanted to share our hypothesis, our us girls talking.
Yeah.
just just chit chat, and it's based on nothing but
Math
our
and a
opinion.
little bit, yeah, math and some guesswork, really.
Yeah. So as we all know, Jin is the first one. Like Kathy mentioned, it probably will be in the next month or two, based on the usual timeline for
Hmm.
idols enlisting and his solo project,
And his
and
birthday.
his birthday, and the possibility of performing for the opening of the World Cup.
Hmm.
And if that's the case, and he enlists right at the end of November, he should be returning around May 2024 if
Hmm.
he's active duty.
Correct. Or if he chooses the Army or the Marine Corps.
The 18 months.
Yeah.
That's also barring there's any health issues, because they do another checkup
Right
before
before.
they actually
Yeah.
enlist.
Yeah. So Suga, Lil Meow Meow, August D, Minyoongi, Gloss, D-Town Boy, whatever you want to call him, is next in line. As his birthday is March 9th, and he's just 3 to 4 months after Jin. So personally, I can't envision him dropping an album in December, but you know, he likes to surprise people. So who knows? Maybe he does. But maybe he does wait till January or February. And if that's the case, he will probably enlist at some point between February and his birthday in March. And then that means that he should be returning around September of 2024
But this
if he
is
does the
for,
18-month thing.
I don't think he can because of his shoulder injury.
Right. We don't know if he's going to do active service, which we've talked about amongst ourselves, amongst Laura and myself for a while, because it does seem like whenever there's been major surgery or any sort of not completely organic body situation, it seems like the recommendation of the evaluation is for them not to be active duty soldiers. So if that's the case, it does tend to be longer. So
Right.
we'll see what comes of that.
Yeah, like for example, Bacon looks from the outside looking in obviously extremely healthy, but he's had thyroid
Thyroid
problems for a
issues.
while. And because of that, he couldn't serve in the active military. So his enlistment is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Shonu, his retina detached, and because of that, he couldn't serve in the active, even though, again, he looks completely healthy and he's fucking ripped.
Yeah.
So next up are J Hope and RM. They're both 94s. So if they don't apply for the extension, they have to serve next year. J Hope recently dropped his solo work. So artistically, he might not do anything else. So he could go as soon as possible. He could go tomorrow if he wanted to, which means he'd be able to return as soon as possible.
Hmm.
Back in like the middle of the year, RM said that he was dropping his album next, which we now know is a lie because Jin is the second one to drop solo work. And again, we don't really know when his work is going to come out. His birthday is in September, so he has a bit of time next year for his solo work. But yeah, we we can't make a good prediction here.
Yeah, we're not pretending to have any information here that, the rest of people don't have or anything like that. We don't know what we don't know, so we're just sharing what we do know and some minor speculation, but we're trying not to get too out of the reservation here. So
Not the Lulu.
not the Lulu. No,
territory.
no, we're trying to be as realistic as possible. And on that note, the 95 soulmates, I'm not going to even try to figure that one out because I think anyone who is ARMY or knows anything about BTS knows that V is the most unpredictable human alive. And he just kind of marches to the beat of his own drum and everyone else is just along for the ride as a witness. So I have absolutely no idea when he would try to enlist or when it would make sense for him because it seems like he said he scratched his last album again, like he deleted everything and is starting over again. So I don't know if that's true. All men do is lie. We don't know what's happening. So no idea there. And with Jimin, Jimin's a good boy. Jimin's class president. Jimin is honored to do his duties. So
cute.
Sure, he will go as soon as possible and we'll try to be back as soon as possible. But beyond that, we have zero thoughts, honestly. He also might leave tomorrow, which I hope. We don't know.
We don't know.
We really don't know.
Finally, Jungkook. He's the maknae. He literally has the most time. He can wait until way too long
Yeah.
to enlist. And all of ARMY is basically telling him not to choose the Navy and the Air Force because those have the longest enlistment times, which makes sense because we don't want him to be gone for a long time, or just being a little greedy there. But again, he can literally go whenever he wants. I mean, they said 2025, so there's not a big window there.
Yeah. For all of them to return, and again, the keyword is around 2025, that little open to interpretation word again that we saw repeated through the statement. They can basically enlist all the way up until May of 2024 if they're going to do the shortest active duty enlistment. And that way they will be back by December of 2025 if they so choose.
But then around 2025 could also mean the beginning of 2026.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The
it's
around,
so vague.
The around is really like an intentional choice. It's a choice. They said what they said. I'm not really sure what they said, but they said it.
They said something. To me, I think HYBE, which again, I don't know if they already do this, but to me, HYBE would benefit from hiring a native English speaker that lives out here, that knows exactly how these types of notices are written for this side of the world. Just because, at least from what I've seen, the way that Koreans speak is sometimes a little bit flowery and a little bit
abstract.
And in the West, when there's notices this important, they try to use, I mean, I'm sure they would have done the around too because that's pretty smart, but they try to be as short and concise as possible, direct, so there isn't too much interpretation going on.
Yeah.
Especially when they have so much at stake. They are a publicly traded company, so it's not like they're just mom and pop in their shop, you know what I mean?
And this statement went out right with a statement from the CEO to the stakeholders. So everything is tied together for them. And like Laura said, it's really important for the communication to be crystal clear for everyone involved and everyone who has a stake in this because it's a lot of people. A lot of people and a lot of money are at play here. Which also sucks to say because at the end of the day, we're talking about the lives of 7 people who deserve to have their autonomy and all these things respected above all. And that's not a lot of what we're seeing. So,
but that's just K-pop in general. Like the way it works, it's not very about the artist. It's about the company.
Yeah, so agreed. And one thing ever since the whole story and news broke in June around the hiatus and whatever, now that we've seen everything that has come out since then, because obviously we're not witches to predict things ahead, and we didn't know what was coming when the news broke. But we have seen now that this was the least breakiest break, least hiatus of all time. They've been together this whole time. We've been getting fed this whole time. We know that they're banking things for when they're gone. So I feel like it would have been different if when they did the Festa dinner, they had said, we're not going to be working on OT7 music right now. That's literally the actual the break that they're taking. It's just we're not trying to make OT7 music at the moment. That's really it, because everything else has them together. So it really isn't a hiatus in the way that the West is used to and triggered by with that word.
One Direction.
NSYNC. And, it's not that at all. It's just like, Rihanna didn't have to make an announcement. We're still waiting for her album here. And she's just been working on lingerie. She had a kid. She has her makeup line. She's out here like doing whatever she wants. She didn't have to announce anything. And we're still waiting for her. And now we know that she's going to be at the Super Bowl. But it's like, they didn't have to say anything, or they could have said, we're not working on an OT7 album right now because the K-pop machine just expects people to be constantly working on a comeback. So that was
every 2 seconds.
Every 2 seconds.
New Jeans is gonna make a comeback, and they literally just made a comeback like yesterday. Like,
where are they even born? Because that's what I'm asking. Like, were they even born? Don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah. And our personal hope, as much as we provided the previous perspective timeline for what it seems like they're doing, is obviously that they have as least amount of time in between their departures so that they can be back sooner. And that's our selfish hope as fans. But also we will respect whatever their decisions are. We know that they've thought this through, and we'll wait for them patiently. So anyway, just wanted to say that. So with that timeline up in the air, we wanted to share some of our feelings as ARMY, as fans whose ultimate biases are seemingly the first to depart, and also as K-pop multi-stans. So we're going to be sharing those perspectives individually. And because Jen is leaving first, I think Laura should start. So please, Laura, take over and share how you're going to be coping with this and how you're preparing mentally for this time.
The only reason I wasn't really sad about the news is just because it feels like he was able to make the decision for himself and by himself with his family or whoever, and not the company. I feel like the company had pretty much made him wait to see if they could get something out of it. And I'm glad that he just decided to do what he wanted. I am happy that we aren't in this like uncertain times, because I don't like uncertainty. I have a bit of a control problem.
Same.
Too real.
I feel seen. I feel validated, and I appreciate your candor.
This is something that I have to work daily, not in my personal life, in my professional life. I don't like surprises. As Kathy mentioned a couple of episodes behind, I plan my own bachelorette. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not knowing was like, ugh. Plus, like, everybody sending me like the random BTS article that gets like that used to get written up every like 2 weeks about it. It's like, guys, no. So I'm just happy that's over with. I know, and it's okay. I can prepare myself mentally, and it is what it is, right? Personally, I have a thing about loving seeing the idols in their buzz cuts. Like, I don't know why. Yes, I do. I just like short hair. So I am a bit excited about that. And I swear to you guys, Jin's head is probably not perfectly shaped. Like, there has to be something wrong, and I think it's his head. So I'm super excited to see if my hypothesis is right, because, like, come on, it can't be perfect. Like, it can't. You know what I mean?
Clearly, Laura is a sociopath, because they all look absolutely delicious right now with their hair length. So just ignore her. I have to deal with this every day. So just take it from me. Don't listen to her.
Also, we should have known, like Kathy and I were talking about it with our friend who recently just became Army. Like we were like, they all of their hairs are way too long. This is a little
The
fishy.
signs have
Like,
been there. Yeah. We talk
yeah,
about it amongst ourselves and we're like, this length of hair is screaming enlistment is coming soon. Like
yeah,
the signs, anyone who's surprised hasn't been paying attention. That's it.
right. Long hair, don't care. And then a way that I am personally coping, and this is as a multi-stan who is not loyal. Like it's fine. I love Jin, but I am who I am. So as a multi-stan who still loves Jin and he's my ult, I am coping just thinking about the people that are coming back next year. And I'll miss him, but at least it'll be a little less because I won't be alone, I guess. Because Tem and Bake and Shono are coming back. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Laura has had a very tough 2022. I mean, since half of 2021 and this whole year, with Tem and Beck and Shonu being gone. So I actually haven't had to go through any of my biases being gone. And I'm not looking forward to starting with my ult. That seems like starting on the worst possible, like highest level of degree of pain. So she knows what she's gonna feel, and to an extent, because Jin is her ult. But yeah, so as an army, I share in Laura's feelings of feeling relieved that it seems like this is their decision. It doesn't seem like it's what the government wanted in terms of having their cake and eating it too, having them serve and also play shows and whatever half of the year or however much they wanted. It seems like this is BTS's choice through and through, the members as individuals, not the company, not anyone else's. And we are proud supporters of them doing what they want to do because they work really hard and they deserve the choice. We all deserve the opportunity to make choices for ourselves, especially choices that affect our lives. And it really has sucked to hear all the conversations that have been happening basically behind their back. It's like someone's talking about you in front of you and you have no say in the matter. And that really sucks. That's how it has felt all along. So again, I'm just, as an army, I'm proud of them for making the decision themselves, for choosing what's best for them, for the group, for themselves as individuals, for whatever they took into account to make the decision. So proud army. As a sugar bias, I am fucking shitting bricks. I'm not ready. I am not this tweet that came out on Monday that said, "Can Yoongi's hair be exempt?" And then a picture below it and said, "Because I'm sorry, this hair is a serve." Like that is that tweet encompasses everything I feel. I mean, no, just kidding. I don't really care. Obviously, the hair is not what has me like hanging on by a thread. It's just, knowing him gone. And it, like Laura said, if he has to serve in a non-active duty and serve for a longer period of time, I am going to lose my shit because who is going to be my weather report person telling me that it's chilly or the weather is nice, or or coming in and Weavers and leaving random comments, or just the double or triple selkas across all the platforms. I'm going to have a really hard time
different
with from the same angle, but like a smile, a smirk, or serious or whatever. It's going to be a hard time, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not ready. And again, I haven't gone through this. By the time that I came in and became a fan, either the people that I like have already served or they're not at age to serve yet. So these are going to be my first ones. I'm going to be a military wife, and that's that on that. So not doing well, but I'm trying my best.
I mean, the good thing is that we know that they will be able to communicate with us if they wanted to. Bacon. I call him Bake because we're like that. Bacon goes on Twitter every month or every 2 months and goes on like these little Twitter rants where he like tells us a little bit of what he's feeling. He like talks to some fans by responding to the tweet. So it is possible to be able to see them or have some interaction. Obviously, it's not going to be the same, but it's not like Suga is doing this every single day. So there is that possibility. So it's not going to be like a complete desert.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we're gonna
so
have Run
it's not
BTS and
that bad, you
we're
know?
gonna have content. I did see, and I wasn't happy with it, some news about some sort of like upgraded subscription service that is gonna allow us to keep in touch with them. No,
Suckers.
I'm not about that life that my, paying for the Dear John. Mm-mm.
It's that so ever since this news, or no, ever since 2020, HYBE has been preparing itself to stop depending on BTS for their revenue. So they're always fucking thinking, and I don't like that Dear John shit either. Like,
Mm-mm.
just debut another girl group. Like, I
Don't
know.
get me wrong. I will fucking pay for it if
Oh,
it
me too, for sure.
happens because
For
I'm a
sure.
hypocrite and all I
100%.
do is give in to the shit that they do. But with that said, I really hope it's not the case because one of the few points of pride that I have with Weavers is that unlike Bubble and unlike Universe, I don't have to pay to see
right.
their messages. I have my membership and I pay for literally everything else. And I buy all the obnoxious, unnecessary shit that they try to sell me.
Yeah.
So I think they have enough of my money. I don't think I have to pay on top of it to see them post every once in a while.
Right.
And the last point as a multi-stan is it does help to know that I will be distracted a little bit from missing them. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be a replacement. No one will ever replace them. No one will ever replace Sugar. But, like when you go to the dentist and they like try talking to you or put the TV on at the top if the dentist you go to is fancy and has something at the top, or just in general in life, whenever you're doing something uncomfortable and you try to distract or meditate and whatever, like being a multi-stan will be that. We'll have something else to focus on while we wait by the door with our rubber shoes on for them to come back.
And not to be dramatic or anything, but the beginning of next year is gonna suck because it's not just Jin and it's not just Suga, but it's all of the 94s who are born in the beginning of the year, which it basically means that personally, I won't have Jin, I won't have Temin, I won't have Bacon, I won't have Shona, I won't have JB, I won't have Kai. Who else?
I don't know, but JB and Kai are both my biases as well. So I'm about to lose 3 in 3 months. Like,
I don't think we talk enough about the year 1994, the 94 liners, but dang it, it's just as good as the 97s.
I think you're going too far. It's great. It's a great year. It's a great year.
You're telling me,
Laura,
Kai,
Laura,
RM,
Laura. It's just different. It's just different. You can't call it as good. It's just different. I'm sorry.
It's just as good in a different way. Yeah, it is.
Jungkook, Bangchan, Mingyu, DK, The8, Jaehyun, Bam Bam, Yugyeom, all those like amazingly beautiful, talented, great, sometimes maknae line people. It's just different. It just hits different. Nobody in the 94 line that is leaving except JB is a good vocalist. Let me say that.
You know what?
I'm not wrong.
Don't think you're right. Who's a 94 liner that I'm forgetting?
We're talking, the ones that we're talking about, we're talking about RM. Well,
Jin is 94.
He's okay.
He has a pretty voice.
He's okay.
Who's
it's
a
not
94
mind blowing compared to DK, Cookie.
But that's what I mean. It's different.
But that's what I'm saying. You keep bringing up the comparison.
Yeah, it's the same level of awesomeness. It's just different. You have RM. You have J-Hope.
I worship. You know how I've been having
maybe
a mental affair with RM.
Maybe it's not vocals, but there's rappers.
I'm not talking just about vocals. I'm just saying stop comparing. Like you keep
trying
to compare.
Comparing. I'm just saying it's just as good.
Are. No.
It's just as good. How is that comparing? You're saying
that's
it's
a
not
literal
as good.
Comparison.
That's a comparison.
That's a literal comparison. Like saying bringing them up is a literal comparison. I'm just saying they're not on the same lane. They're just not on the same thing. No.
Yeah, but they're
Laura just likes violence and Laura likes chaos and she likes to bring up shit And no, just don't compare. Just don't bring it up. Just leave it be. Let it be an amazing thing on its own. Don't bring up the other thing.
We need to talk about the 94 liners more. Maybe next time.
We
Maybe
need to
next
talk
year.
about the 94 liners more. We can do a whole episode on them. I will.
Okay. So reeling it back in.
Sorry.
Coming back.
Sorry, not sorry. This was
Coming
our
back a
first
little bit.
public disagreement, 4% on the podcast. Wow.
I love it.
I did too. That was really enjoyable. I needed to let that out today. That steam was being held in.
too.
So I'm glad it's out.
Anyway, we want to now talk a little bit about how the news was distributed throughout the West and Western media. HYBE said what they said, but as it always happens, the media takes a statement, played it through the telephone until it got to be the most clickbaity of clickbait wording.
It's been ridiculous, guys. I don't know if you've been looking at Twitter or the news or anything, but the headlines, the content, it's just wrong. It's just, yeah.
It's very, 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 very annoying.
We'll go through some of these headlines, and there's obviously more content included in the article. Sometimes it adds context, sometimes it just doesn't. I was kind of surprised with how many articles we came across that were 2 paragraphs and that's it. They just literally want the click, and it's just vapid links. It's really what it is. It doesn't make any sense. So for me, for example, one of the articles that I saw that I was the headline said, BTS members to complete mandatory military duties in South Korea, extending hiatus through 2025. What do you mean extending hiatus? Again, we've been so fed this whole time, since June until now. We got concerts, we got announcements for things that are coming out, we got albums, we got yes, they haven't made new music as a whole, but we are getting music, we're getting content. We got 2 Run BTS specials. We get them talking to us on Weverse all the time. We've gotten V-Lives, or We Lives now on Weverse. We're getting fed. Show me the fucking hiatus. I don't see it.
I think that's a common theme in all of the websites or articles that I saw that were written by Western media. The word hiatus, they cannot let it fucking go. They cannot. It's super annoying.
Yeah. This one was from June. The little headline from the BBC, no less. I'm sure you have other important things to report on, people. But they literally were, this is the headline. BTS hiatus, quote, not as severe, unquote, as One Direction. Dude, literally not even comparable. Not even on the same lane. The fuck are you talking about? It's just stop it with a stupid word, first of all. And second of all, stop comparing shit that is incomparable. I get it that the West always has to have a benchmark, and that's why they're always bringing up BTS in the conversation of K-pop as a whole, when other groups have their own right to be talked about on their own individually. But Jesus Christ, these headlines are just hungry, thirsty for the click. It's ridiculous.
And for example, there's 2 articles that I saw that really pissed me the fuck off. Pissed me off. And one of them, when you read the title, it doesn't seem too much. It actually seems like it's a positive sort of situation, and it's by GQ. The article title is BTS is taking a break from running pop music to enlist in the South Korean military. You see that, and it's okay, they didn't say the hiatus. They're gassing them up by saying they're running pop music, which they are, you know what I mean? They're gassing them up, whatever. But then you click on the article, and it is so fucking annoying. The lazy reporting is off the charts. There's a line in the article that says this: Jungkook and Jimin, both 25, could start their service on the earlier side. It takes 2 seconds to Google the fact that Jungkook and Jimin are not the same
2 years
age.
apart.
So it's really annoying that they can't even take 2 seconds to look at facts. Another one that did the same shit is BuzzFeed, which is annoying because BuzzFeed, in our way of thinking, isn't run by an older generation that might not know, right? Which honestly, all of these things are millennials, and come on, people.
Yep.
So the article in BuzzFeed was BTS are officially on hiatus until 2025 because it's mandatory military service time. So that even sounds they use the word hiatus, but the title seems like it's somebody young, like they're not trying to be super serious, in my opinion, right? But then in the inside of the article, they say the news comes days after BTS held a free concert in South Korea, their first concert in their home country since the start of the pandemic. Literally, it takes 2 seconds to Google the fact that they had PTD Seoul earlier this year. Like 2 seconds, guys. Like it's just a bunch of clout chasing and lazy reporting for what?
For the views.
And this is why I think even though HYBE doesn't need other news media to report on their own news, it would benefit them from doing it a little bit different, whether that's having someone that works in the media, which I'm sure they have, but like just having less of a
Having
Korean
like a press
perspective.
person that can talk to the press here and
Right,
just like
right,
feed information in bullets in like fucking baby food size, because clearly
right,
they're not really interested in
right,
having like journalistic integrity when it comes to pop music or whatever. Because I understand, like,
right,
different journalists have different beats, which are like the areas of things that they're going to report on. They can report on sports, they can report on this or whatever. Whomever's assigned to the pop music people, they suck. I'm sorry. Like, this is just, and I don't want to generalize, obviously, because I'm sure there's some good reporting out there on K-pop and everything, but it's like Laura said, extremely lazy reporting. It's just not good.
yeah. Those were just the two that pissed me off.
I saw a couple of other ones. One is BTS says, quote, bye, 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 unquote, for now, as boy band begins military service. Who the fuck are you trying to trigger, Fox 17? All of us? Everybody? Thank you. Managed. Accomplished. Mission succeeded. The fuck? Like, wow. Wow. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
That's fucking rude.
That is so rude. Like,
That's really funny.
Jesus Christ. And then another headline, BTS Enlist. What's next for the Hallyu wave? Listen, I'm a hardcore BTS stan. I'm hardcore army. Like, you can ask Laura how hard it was for me to give my time from BTS and split it for other groups. I like other groups. I'm a multi-stan, but I'm army first and foremost. 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week. I'm fucking army. But to discount the efforts that of literally everyone else that came before and after, and that is charting their own like way, their own path, whether they work for HYBE or different companies. The Hallyu wave also encompasses food, also encompasses K-dramas, also encompasses K-beauty. Like, the Hallyu wave is many things. So to make BTS the center of it all, I understand to an extent, but at the same time, that adds a fuck ton of pressure to them that they don't need right now. And that's another thing that really kind of gets to me. I'm like, these men are under so much pressure all day, every day, being seen under a microscope. Every decision they make, every person they meet, everything they do, everything they write, everything they say can be misconstrued. And to be like, oh, what's next for, like, South Korea now that the guys are going to be like gone? It's just a lot of unnecessary pressure. We really don't need that here. It's just a bunch of bullshit, honestly. I'm over it. I hate this coverage. All my friends messaging me, hey, have you seen? Did you know? Oh my God, I just heard. Yes, I saw. Yes, I know. I know way before you think you know. And it's all stupid. And everything that everyone who is not army or into K-pop and is absorbing this information is absorbing the wrong information. And that's what makes us mad.
And aside from absorbing the wrong information, people hate seeing people happy, to be honest. So seeing that BTS is on hiatus is kind of like a ha ha ha, what are you gonna do now? And it's like,
Totally.
guys,
It's taunting
enjoy
army.
your own shit. Like, do whatever you want. Like, I don't need my parents. I don't need, like, people are like, oh my God, what are you gonna do now? And it's like, nothing. I'm just gonna wait and have a great
100%.
time as much as I can. Like, it's not a big, like, it's a big deal, but like,
You know who's breathing a sigh of relief? William Board, Billboard, with knowing that they don't have to fight army for the next 2 years trying to get people to chart, and they can, do their own thing without changing the rules constantly so that different artists will chart.
So that's it for today, guys. It's we ended it a little ranty, but in general, we're happy that there seems like they made their own decision. we'll be here waiting. It'll be a great time for anyone who's open to expand their horizons while still loving and watching everything BTS. So if that's you, keep on listening.
Yeah. And to not completely end on a ranty, angry, sour note, we want to say, at least, and I think, yeah, Laura agrees with me, even though I haven't even said it and she doesn't know what I'm going to say. We're really happy to be part of ARMY in the sense of like our humor to cope with shit is incredible. And the unseriousness that we've seen unleashed on TikTok, on Twitter, and everything. It was like, there was a tweet that it was like the 5 stages of grief for ARMY. It's like, went straight to joking. And we just like all the humor that we've seen since Monday, like the same day the news dropped, within a couple of hours, the jokes were coming and it helped us all cope. And so we know that ARMY is not always spoken about in a positive light. And sometimes it's hard for us to claim, like, yeah, we're proud ARMY because of all the toxicity that is associated with the fandom. But on Monday, it was great to see all of ARMY kind of come together in pride and in jest and joke around, like like the military wives collectively that we feel like we are. So yeah, that was great. That was a good part. That was a good time to be ARMY, to see the extent to which we can all be fucking unserious, because it was great. ARMY is so smart. And we hope this was informative, and that if anyone is Korean and saw this, we hope that you found it respectful, and that that we are guests in this house and we're not here to criticize, or we're not here to criticize. So thank you for all that your country has given us. We are thankful for all the great art that you share with us.
Thank you so much for listening, watching. We really appreciate it. If you have opinions, just want to say hi. We're in all of the social medias. Oh, I sounded old. At MIA2K Podcast. We always try to respond and connect. So thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K Podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead. So please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K Podcast. Dale, bye.